to discuss the lab in more detail. Okay. Perfect. So let's start our class today. I have a presentation. So the presentation, the class lecture is available. It's been available, I think, all week. So information in hierarchy. So hierarchy, a tree structure, which I have shared with you already, some sets of a tree from the IAs. And often when we think of IA information architecture diagram, it is a tree. We think in terms of a tree. And then this is one way, and this is probably the most popular way that we see on the web. So we're going to be talking about trees, information architecture, trees and categories. We are in week 2. As I said, we're going to be looking in more detail about the lab, but the lab for this week, some parts are individual, some parts are done in your team, and that would be your respective teams, the same teams that you are on 5112 and then for 5111. And so use the same team. By now, I'm hoping that you've had a chance to connect and mingle, and you do have your teams. And I know that Yvonne has actually shared with me a Excel sheet that shows all of your team and your potential choices for the big project, but we're not in the big project at this point. We're still outside of the big project. So, but the lab, I give you a specific site to actually assess for this week's lab. Information architecture is just a quick review. So last week we've learned information architecture is how do we structure content. So it's structuring content, and then it's and then there are many pieces of content. So on the site we have to think about how do we group and how do we structure that content. So this is a tree structure, right? So there's level 0, level 1, level 2, and level 3, and sometimes you have level 4. So there are multiple levels, and this site architecture has many content, many pieces of content, many sections and many subsections. It is an art and of how do we organize, how do we label the website, the categories. So labeling, and we do IAs for website, for intranet, for communities, software to support usability and findability. And I will say findability is the first key, right? So when you do your labs, the first question you want to ask yourself, and the lab talks about before you go to the website, think of user goals. And it's an online grocery store. So I will tell you, the lab for this week is an online grocery store. So I'm going to help you a little bit with the lab. And the first thing you probably want to think about buying something online, buying grocery shopping, buying grocery items. So finding is really key. If you're not able to find those items, then it doesn't matter how good the rest and the experience is. Findability is, I would say, 50% of the answer to meeting your goal, and then you go through the experience as well. Now that we've talked about heuristic evaluation, it's going to be hard for you not to think about in terms of heuristics, but I don't really have anything, I think, that talks about heuristic in this lab. I don't want to confuse you between the two classes. The focus is going to be very much about categorization, but user and user goals, and then the categories, which is what we're talking today. There are many ways that we can actually structure information on the website. So I keep saying website, but again, it could be anything. And then the tree structure is one of them. So we're going to be looking at more of the tree structure for today. And then this is, I would say, probably the best representation of a tree structure. So we are familiar with this tree structure. So you've seen, I will say, you've seen organizational chart, right? An org chart in businesses. So we have the CEO, and then we have VPs, and then we have directors, and then we have VPs, then we have VPs. So it is a tree structure, right? So it suggests that the level at the top have autonomy or have power over the people that are, and all members that are in one group belong, right? So everybody in this are part of a team. They all belong together. But obviously everybody, and it's a big team, everybody belongs. So, but it's just it's a way of dividing people within an organization. Same thing with content. We have content, we have products, we have things that we make available. We just need to group them and divide them up. So you can think of categorization as how do we divide up content? How do we divide up our people within our organization? And as I said, there is no one recipe, right? There's no one recipe to a site architecture or a categorization. There's one that we pick for the business that actually makes sense to our business. Some types of hierarchy that you will weigh or you will see are ways that you can actually think of dividing. So we can think of content as we're dividing content, right? In groups, products. So product is one way. So we're dividing our content per product. So let's think of if it's Rogers, then maybe we have a categories, a grouping for wireless. Maybe we have a grouping for internet. Maybe we have a grouping of items for television. And maybe we have a grouping of items for security. So we have items for security. So these are products. When you think of it, these are all products. And then we're dividing up the content according to it. Another way that you can divide content that you would have seen as well is per user role. So when we think of user role, so maybe we think, let's think of the zoo. So the zoo, a zoo has consumer, right? So regular consumers, and then you have parents, maybe as a set of customer. Maybe you have educator, and then you have maybe donors, people that do donations. So that could be a good example of user role. And you will see that sometimes some sites will actually going to have a section for educators. Now, you can't assume for your main architecture a main type of user, and that could be your consumer. So if you're Rogers, you could say that we will assume consumers, but we may have a sections for Rogers that talk about business. And maybe that's actually a section that only has business related product. But the rest of all of the products are consumer related. So the wireless, the TV, and the internet sections that I was saying, we are assuming B2C consumer, but then you have another section for biz. But all of this, you're kind of assuming that it's for B2C, okay? So the other way that you can actually create archetype is popularity. So most visited, most often used. Now this is a bit of a continuum, but you will see sometime that we are dividing up content as well. And we've seen a lot of examples as deals, most popular, new as well. So we're talking, this suggests a bit of a timeline, but this can be a way as well that you wanted to divide your content. Deals is another way as well. Maybe your line of business as well. So your line of business, so if you're Rogers, you can almost think that the products, wireless, television, and internet are kind of your line of business. But let's say that you're Amazon Web Services, and maybe you have a line of business for web, maybe you have a line of business for mobile, maybe you have a line of business for infrastructure, and you divide your business. So that works if the customer understand that there's a choice for them, right? When they actually visit your site. And then you can also categorize or create types based on your chronological order as well. And but that would obviously not be appropriate for all of the sites. But we've seen that, and we've actually seen that in the Latch too. Now, another way that you can actually think of how do you divide up your content that I haven't listed here that would also be relevant is per the customer stages. So let's think of air miles, for example. So yesterday we looked at air miles, and we could think of dividing up content per customer stages. So maybe we have a stage where we want people to join. Then we want people to redeem. And then we want people to also earn points. So you could almost have content divided by the stages as well. So anything to do with join the program will be here. Anything to do with redeem would be together. Anything to do with earning mouse so that I can eventually redeem, but I would probably should reverse the order, but I'm not committing to an order yet on the website. That would be another way that you could divide up as well your structure. Okay, so there are multiple ways, and there is not just one way. What you can do is you can look at what others do as well, but you will need to pick one and make a choice. But again, when you think of categories and structure, you're not committing to navigation. And I know this is going to be hard to think about because often we look at the site architecture or the IA, and we think of navigation. If it helps you to think in terms of navigation to do your grouping, that's okay. But you're not committing to navigation when you use site architecture. You're actually trying to group elements that belong together. That's really all of what you're trying to do. So we're looking at how do we structure. Structure, why do we care about structure? The structure actually brings a lot of order. It brings order in your life. It brings order into our life. We classify, we put things in, we structure our emails, we structure our files, we structure our thinking, we actually even structure our notes, right? So, and then you can think that there are specific structure for, like, say, a grocery store. There are certain structure for cars when we think of cars. Now, you can think of archetype or prototype. We have kind of a mental image of what car, when we say car, and if I say car to you, perhaps we could do this little exercise. When you hear the word car, what comes to mind? And please type it in the chat. And we're going to see what we think and how we think differently when we think of cars. So let's do a little exercise. When I say the word car, what comes to mind? What do you think? Four-wheeler. Okay, go four-wheeler, petrol, sedan, roads, transport. What else? When I say car, or if you think of a car website, what do you think? What comes to mind? Drivers, brand, driver lessons, usually a side profile rectangle with wheels like emoji. Yes, so sedan, new models. Last year, it could be blue, gray, right? Automatic. You see, we all think differently when we think of a car, but the car has a very specific language. Awesome. All of these items that you've actually that you've written on the chat, we could put them on a tree structure. We could try to create a tree structure for those items. So today we're going to do an exercise for this. Yes, racetrack. And then we can think SUV, right? Car, SUV. So the same thing with houses. A house has specific elements or a vocabulary. Think of vocabulary as well when you think. So we are structuring Fast and Furious. So when I say a car, it means really different thing for all of us. Team structure. So we see patterns, right? And we also see landmarks. There are specific things that we actually expect when we think of car to begin with. And I think, model, we think of new, we think of use, right? We saw sedan, etc. So the engine and the horsepower and many things. So it brings predictability and also familiarity. So if suddenly we start thinking of car and we start using different words, different labels, different languages, people will be very confused. And they're not going to be able to find the information that they're looking for. So what structure does, structure brings familiarity, predictability, then the user can actually understand your product fast right away. Okay, there are multiple cars, there are multiple sites out there that you can be inspired in terms of structure and even navigation and categories and content. Now, you can also make some assumptions. So you can assume certain things. So you could say, let's say that you're a car manufacturer and you're Honda. You could say that we will assume B2C as a consumer, and then maybe you want to assume Honda cars. So perhaps there's Honda under motorcycles, there are many other things, but you're kind of making choices, and you're saying that we are just assuming for our B2C customer, and the dealers will have some content, but they're going to be separate. Then you can say maybe we just do new cars, and you have a site and then maybe we just have sit down. Maybe that's not an example, but you can make some decisions, and some assumptions, just like the other example that I have shared with you. When you do actually, and I would say this is probably more relevant when you actually move into your design. Okay, navigation and the wireframing as well. The structures are very, very critical. So they're everywhere. And we don't think of structure. We don't really think of structure, but the structure is the base, is the foundation. And when the structure is broken, it can create a lot of confusions. And I will show you an example of a structure being broken. And we've seen it a little bit on Air Miles yesterday. But they play a very important role and on the design of products. So I say digital, but on any products. The stores, when we think of a store, we have certain things that we expect. There's a cashier, there are aisles, there are product. Now we have self-checkout. There is signage, there is pricing, there's a SKU, and then I can even scan. And there's many things that we do expect. We interact with structure every day, but we really think about them, and that's a good thing, right? Don't make me think. So that when we see a structure, then it's a sign that something is broken. They will define the primary way in which user can navigate, browse, discover your content. So very critical. They're very, very important. I will show you an example of a bad structure on Air Miles. So Air Miles, and this is the example, and I will share my screen. And let me just Air Miles. Okay, so I went to the airmiles.ca's website. Agree? I typed in airmiles.ca at the top, and I can see airmiles.ca. Notice at the top, the little airmiles.ca up above the logo. That is structure. I am already on airmiles.ca, and they are asking me to click on airmiles.ca. Then they have another link or another option next to it that says airmilesshops.ca. But I went to airmiles.ca already. So the structure is I would say from the get-go is problematic. I don't know as a user what is airmiles.ca. I am under airmiles.ca. So what is this other thing? Or you can go as far as thinking, what is then this site that I'm actually currently looking at, that I've already typed in the URL, right? Then I can see that I have choices to do offers. I can do my rewards. So why can I not be shopping on airmiles.ca either? And then they have on top, they have this airmilesshop.ca. So it sounds like there are 3 sites that I need to visit when I actually do business with Air Miles. My gut feeling tells me that they've had challenges and they've created these other sites, and now they're stuck with them and they can't even connect them together. They can't even have all of one site in one place. That would be probably my main explanation to why we're saying that it looks like there are 3 sites just for airmiles.ca. Okay, so Julian said, is our airmiles.ca and airmilesshop.ca the first level in this case? I would say it's hard to tell if they're level 1. It looks like they are level 1 because they're like your first choices, right? There are your first choices that you will see. So if we go back to our levels, home usually is level 0. So the logo, which usually the logo is the home, and then everything like offers, rewards, travel, help, perhaps airmiles.ca, Air Miles Shop, Français, sign in are seen to be maybe like level 1s, but we don't know. But usually your level 1 will be your first items that you can click on, and then you expect other items below it. So I would say yes, but they are completely separate websites. So when I click on airmiles.ca in shop, then I go to other places. Okay, don't be too concerned about levels yet, Sophia. Okay, so levels will make sense. It's hard to say what is the level, and plus here we're not looking at IE, we're looking at the navigation, and I don't want to confuse navigation with IE because we've always looked at them as one of the same, but they're not, and you will understand that later. The information architecture for LMAS could be very different than what we see on the navigation. But I know it's hard to understand and see at this point, but it will make sense when we're going to move away from eyes to navigation. Okay, so let's just go back to the presentation. Okay, so the structure is very important, and then I have it says that the ML structure is broken because we're trying to push in consumer to more than one environment when they've already typed in airmiles.ca. But now they see that there's this other thing called airmiles.ca. So it's broken. Now, the challenge with structure is the structure are really hard to change as well. So if your structure or slash your information architecture is broken, it's going to be hard. It's really going to be hard to create an easy or a site that will actually make sense when the entry points are actually even confusing and the site structure is difficult. So if you think of airmiles, airmiles.ca, so now we have three things for airmiles, right? And then as a user, where do I go? Why three? Why three? There are three sites. Why do I have three? So it's hard. And this is part of visibility of the system, which is one of the principle, is where am I or where do I go to do X? That becomes really the challenge, as opposed to just have one site that does all of this. So it adds a lot of complexity and it's hard to change. So if you have a bad structure, you're going to be stuck with your structure for a long time. If you have a bad IA, you're going to be stuck with your bad IA for a long time too. So it's part of your structure and it's very important to have a very good IA from the get-go because everything else will depend on the IA. Your navigation will depend on the IA too, as well. So it's important to ask ourselves the right question and really go through the process so that our IA is solid and then we can deliver a good experience. When you think of categories or you think of subcategories sometime and you will see that it's really hard. It may be hard. Some of the boundaries can be very fuzzy between the different categories. That will be a challenge that you will see. But if you think of a category like products and you think of flights, hotel, cruises, it's pretty straightforward, right? And then let's say you have another category for support, they seem to be very mutually exclusive. That's another term that you can hear. But when you think of Maya Rogers, if you think of Maya Rogers and then you think of support, you will find a lot of information under Maya Rogers for support. Another maybe good example of a category that actually would be fuzzy that I think of is help or FAQ or support. I saw the feedback that the handwriting is very hard sometimes to read, but is this better? Can you read help, FAQ, and support? Typing takes a lot more time, and the beauty of the pen is I can do a lot more faster. But can we at least read the help and the FAQ and the support on the screen? Okay, good. Perfect. So I do expect that you're listening and also taking your own notes, right? And you can also go back to the recording. But yes, they've changed the pen functionality on Blackboard with the new releases, and I don't like it as much as it used to be. The pen is really, really large as well. So thank you for your understanding, but it's a lot quicker to just use the pen and go in areas where I can't. But where I can use the typing, I will. Now, so fuzzy, this is a good example of, those are fuzzy. Help, FAQ support. Can someone tell me the differences between help, FAQ, and support as a customer? And Airmiles has all of them. Do we agree it's kind of fuzzy? Okay. Not only is help, FAQ, and support very fuzzy, but you will see that if we go to Airmiles, the help category is actually not at all helping. I would even challenge you and say, well, when a user goes to Air Miles, or when a user goes to Rogers, when a user goes to any sites, don't they need help? Are they not trying to do something? So help, when you think of it, when I go somewhere, it's somehow kind of implied that I need either help or I want to do something. So help me accomplish my goal. Help me finding the best vacation, right? Help me doing X. Let me just share with you quickly. So how bad Air Miles is. And I told you that, and I had a student who was an ex-Air Miles on one of my classes in the past, and I had to be very, very kind to the feedback I was given. And I may have students too, but I'm sure they have limitations and constraints when it comes to the existing site. And they're locked into bad structures. That's really their main challenge. Okay, so they have a section called help, and let me show you what's under help. Can you all see? Yeah, yeah. So we see, oh, and my favorite, self-serve tools and helpful topics. When you think of the web in general, isn't it the web self-serve, meant to be self-serve? You see how they are not even thinking, really, what is the intent of a website? It's all about self-serve. The web is all about self-serve. That's why we build a website. And that's why Rogers was spending so much money on anything to do with self-serve to save money on the call center. Anything is about self-serve. So they're not thinking user, actually. They're really not thinking about the user. Everything is about self-serve, and user all have help. But look at the choice of items under help. Order your card. I have missing miles. I want to see my recent transaction. I want to update my profile. I want to learn about the Air Miles program reward program. I want to transfer my miles. Okay, and here's my favorite. Under help, I have useful information, and I have something called FAQs. Their site architecture is really broken, and no one has one vision. No one has a clear vision, and no one has actually designed the information architecture and rethought the information architecture of their site. And what happens is they're putting pretty much everything in every sections because it is so confusing to even know where to begin that people are just clicking and eventually define what they're looking for. Okay, so help is a really, really bad choice. And then what they should do is you should look at, I would actually eliminate help at this point. I would just list the items. Ordering a card. I have missing miles. I want to see my transactions. I want to update my profile. I want to learn about the program. I want to transfer my miles, right? So I will tell you, if you ever are hired to redesign a site, go under the help section if there's one. Go under FAQ if there's one. You're going to find a lot of little gold /user goal /user task that need to be surfaced and need to be out of help and FAQ and be presented as user goals. Okay. In the lab for this week, the lab has a FAQ as well. So the website that I'm sending you to has an FAQ. Okay, so go in the FAQ and look at the items, and you will see that there's a bit of a similar situation in what we're seeing at Air Miles. Okay, so this Air Miles site needs love, and all of what they really need to do is they have to think about user goals, and then ordering cards, missing miles, recent transaction are all for someone who's actually at the post joining the program, right? So I'm already a member. I don't need to see anything about joining the program. I'm a member. So as a member, I probably want to see how many miles that I have, how many transactions, and yes, I have missing miles. So maybe they need something that has to do by I'm an existing member. And that is like the user type. I'm an existing customer. I'm an existing member, and I have specific things that I want to do. And that could be one category as well. It could be existing members, right? Or Air Miles member versus someone who's not an Air Miles member, non-Air Miles member, new or non-Air Miles member. So let's carry on. And Before I continue, are there any questions or anything you want to ask so far from anything that we've looked at from this from today's class? Obviously, there's more, and we will continue. Okay, so we've looked at help, FAQs, and support. And then I also saw another questions on Rogers, and then yes, when I say Rogers, I mean the Rogers website, Rogers.com as well. In one of my video or recording, I actually go and do spend time on Rogers. We may be able to look at Rogers today for deep and breadth, for deep structure or flat structure or breadth structure or deep structure. Rogers is a good example of depth. They have a lot of levels. They have not a lot of level ones, but they have a lot of level ones in 2 and 3 and 4. Pretty bad. Okay, could you tell me how they should have kept their help section? I would say I would remove the help section entirely. And but again, this is really just based on my experience. When I look at what is under help, it's not help, it's actually user tasks. So I would rethink the all of the items that are under help. So if you let me just share. I would remove help, and I would list anything that I see under help: order cards, missing miles, recent transactions, update profile, and transfer miles. So these are all like members related tasks, right? So I would, in an ideal world, there would be a section for those customer, and I would reveal them on the navigation if I could. But they are, in terms of architecture, so they all user tasks and things that you would want to do. So the questions, to answer that question, I would tell you help. I would eliminate something called help, and I would look at missing miles, the tasks that they have listed, and then I would find the best grouping for those items as well. We already know that they belong to someone who's actually a member, and then I would just find a new home for all of those user goals, and then I will see if they all fall into one category or multiple categories. But I would redesign. I would actually rethink. Help is a bad choice. People are, and here's the thing: when users go to a website, they don't think they need help. They actually not even going to look under help. But if they're looking for, I have missing miles, and I actually want to see what I need to do for missing miles, you may have very few people that will go to help. But it's the problem with help too is that they have FAQs. Like, it's so broken. It's so broken. Let's click on all the help topics. Okay. This is a better use. And what they're doing is they're showing on screen, okay? So they're using recognition as opposed to recall. So this, what you see now, is a lot more effective. And I would definitely not use the help, but I would need to find a way that I can actually label these items. But it would not be help. It would be something else. So maybe it would be ordering cards and more and something. I don't know, but it will be based on the business priorities too. But the site needs to have a complete revamp of the information architecture in the cart. But I can tell you, help is a bad choice. But what I see on screen is relevant. All of these are pretty much like user goals, very important user goals as well. Do you agree that if you were to come to Airmouse, and instead of seeing this, when you come to Airmouse, let's say you actually see this. I will bet $100 that visits to these items will go up by probably 100%, and you hope that phone calls will go down too. Why having help? You see, it's inefficient. So the content is there, but it's hidden. So that's why, and there are probably many other examples as well like that. The only way to get out of this situation is you have to actually list all of these items on cards and do the card sorting. as well, which you will learn next week too. So you have to rethink and you have to recategorize and you have to rethink the structure of their site. Like, remember, there are 3 sites. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done. But this is here's a lot more effective. Why? Because you're showing, so you're doing recognition. But right now it's hidden, hard to find, right? Really, really hard to find. But I will tell you, the landing page would probably be something like this. Look at all the popular topics. Do you see like this? Do you see how this page is already? This page is a lot more effective. Travel information, COVID updates, managing my account. Okay, managing my account would be better than help. Do you see? And then there's all of this. This is already even more better. And then having something called help, and then having FAQ. Let's go to FAQs and see what they have on their FAQs. They're repeating things too. So there are some good things about their site, but they're bad things. Okay, so it's a matter of, I don't think we need to create more content with AMAs. I think it's a matter of we need to reorganize. The home is messy. The rooms are messy. Think of it. It's messy. It's really, really messy, and they've lost sight. And what they're not doing is they're just not focusing on the user. They're really, really business centered. I will tell you, even offers, rewards, offers and rewards. Think of this. If you're like offers and rewards, what's the difference? Do you understand the difference between an offer and a reward? And those two are like, these are level 1, 2 big level 1 items. And then you have this thing called help as well. So there are multiple things, but it's a complete revamp. They would need to rethink, and the way to do it will be to think about user goals and managing my account, right? And when you let's think of the hierarchy, and I think this is probably, when you think of the hierarchy of managing my account, I'm just going to scroll back because we're talking hierarchy. I think this is all very relevant. Let me just draw a little something here. I can't share Paint. Okay, that's really sad. I think we need to redesign Blackboard from the teacher experience. Just gonna go back to our class content. Okay. Yes, I know it's not the best. Yes, we have challenges with Blackboard. I agree. Some of it we have control as teacher, as professor, because we actually can design. We choose how we design the somehow your experience. Okay, I think I shared with you a very good example of how something can be very fuzzy. And then let me share now, show you the hierarchy. So I think if you think of manage account on AirMiles, I think it's a good example of, then here you could have view transaction, right? Transaction, missing miles. Missing miles is probably not the best. And then you have order a new card. So there is a bit of a hierarchy, right? Here I have an account, and then when I have an account, I can do these items, right? There's a sense of hierarchy. There's a sense of a tree, which is what we're talking about today. I think manage account would probably be a very, very good label as well, versus the help system, the help examples that they have followed. And let's carry on. There are no right or wrong answer. So, and I think you're seeing that the best IE will depend. What do people know about your product, about the information? So if I'm an Air Miles, they call them collector, I have different needs. understand a little bit better air miles than someone who doesn't know anything about them. So you need to take that into account, obviously. What they are going to be using the information for. Again, information, they're looking for information. And then how do they think about your product in the industry? Also, plus other similar product, right? How do they think of other similar products? Yeah, this is what the pen is a bit funky. And then we all operate at different level and think very different about topics. I give you an example about cars. So let's do another little quick example about furniture. So at this point here, what we are going to do is I'd like for you to type in, when I say the word furniture, I'd like for you to type in on screen what you think of when you think of furniture, because we're going to move the items around too. So anybody, so when I say the word furniture, I want you to type in what comes to mind in here, if you can't, on the blackboard. Coffee table. So perhaps let's take all of these items, table, coffee table that I see in the chat, and see if you can type them in. Type them in separately on the board, on the whiteboard, so that we can move them around too. Yes, absolutely. You see, we think very different. We think at very different level when you think of furniture as customer and as user. So we're gonna have a lot of items. So furniture means different things. Different things to you, different things for users. And then your job is then how do we group them? Your challenge will be how do I group anything related to furniture, and if maybe I sell furniture as well. So some of us are higher in the hierarchy, some of us are very deep in the hierarchy. But we see patterns, right? We see things that are related. We see that some things that are repeated as well. Let's see if I can move. No, I can't. Okay, so you see how we think of furniture at different levels and different levels in the hierarchy. So it means different things, and that is the same thing for users. So if we had to design and categorize our furniture sections, there are many ways that we could think of. Do we have house furniture? Do we have patio furniture? Do we have bedroom? Did someone put bedroom? Yeah, okay, we have bedroom, kitchen, great. But do we have outdoor, indoor, outdoor as well? So all of this convey a sense of hierarchy, right? So we could say, well, the bed is part of bedroom, and maybe we have bedrooms, and maybe we have living rooms, maybe we have kitchen, and then on the bedroom we'll have bed, mattresses, lamp floor as well, and mirrors. Some people have put mirrors. I don't know if we have mirrors. So we all think very differently when it comes to furniture. Now the key is we would take all of these cards now and we would do a cart sorting. We could do a cart sorting and start moving things. But we could start seeing where do we see the patterns and put all of the elements are together, and we could put a label to them as well. So we could, so far bad. So we have living room and we have couch. Then we have sofa bed. Sofa bed is a type, right? So this is how the hierarchy is actually being presented. Yes, IKEA is probably what comes to mind too. Desk, Costco, desk, cabinet. So we have office furniture, right? So it's funny because we have furniture, but then we have office furniture, but then we have house furniture. But we may not need to have a label for house furniture. We could assume that all furniture is for a house furniture, but we have two categories called patio and we have one called for office. But then we infer and we assume that everything else is for the house. So this is a good example of where I was saying that we could actually not label and make an assumptions. And we could say that we will assume a house furniture is assumed. But then we would, let's see if I can do a blank board. Okay. Very good. Thank you for playing the little game. Would mind mapping be a good activity before? Yes, you do have to do mind mapping before you do a cart sorting. You need so that you can, well, the key is you have to think about the user and you have to think about the business goal and the user goal, and you just have to list. But you definitely need to know what the users are and then what it is that they're trying to do. But the card sorting will help you. You will get insights from the consumer in terms of how they actually think of furniture or how they think about your website. So we could have bedroom. We could end up with bedroom, and then we have this furniture. And then we have bedroom, then we have living room, right? I'm not going to do all of it. Then we have outdoor. So it is implied that bedroom and living room are actually for house. And then we could have another one called office as well. We could almost have an office here. And this almost look like the super mega menu when you roll over some items on some of the sites, right? And then bedroom, then you'll have bed, mattress, and then you have tables, right? Lamps. Yeah, the pen is really, really bad. And then the living room will have the same thing. So, right, we have a hierarchy. All of these are at the same level. Then you have sofa. Again, you have lamps, carpets. Then you have a mirror, etc. So this is building hierarchy. Now we're not committing to any navigation yet. And then you will have outdoor, and outdoor, what you would probably, outdoor will be maybe you need to have a higher level. So you may have tables, couch, etc. So we're building hierarchy. Now you would have, and then this, you could actually move on to card sorting, and you may end up finding that most people are not at all thinking of furniture the way that you've actually outlined furniture, and this is good. This is why we would do this, okay? So this was to show you that we think different when we are presented with a specific topic, and that will vary based on our experience too that we may have. And we've seen it for the car example as well. And then the question is, okay, so how do we make sure that whatever we're coming up at the end is actually useful and for a customer? This is why you do card sorting, and then you do it with many people so that you look at patterns and trends. So next week, we'll talk much more about card sorting. But this is a way of representing furniture. This is another way. And again, I said there's no one recipe. So here we have table, chair, beds, bookcase, desk. And then if I look at chairs, then we have kitchen chair, office chair, recliner, sofa, electric. So here they've bypassed bedroom, living room, outdoor. They've actually went to the type of furniture. They went right away into type of furniture. But then when you go, and then I think they're assuming too, home furniture. And then they have kitchen, so chair, kitchen, and then they have office chair, and then they have recliner. So they bypass bedroom, living room. They're going right away into furniture. So they're kind of eliminating a level, and they're using a bit more of a flat structure. There are many more levels at this level. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can think that it's actually quicker maybe to get to kitchen chair or not. We don't know yet because we will need to see all items. But you already have, if you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 items, I will say from anywhere to 4 to 7 items. Now I'm going to introduce you to breadth. Breadth or flat. You have more of a flat structure because you have more item at this level. We're going to see how do we achieve this. And this means quicker to get to the content. So there are more advantages of a flat versus a depth as well. No worries, you're gonna hear depth and breadth as we continue. Okay, 1:38. So we're gonna have a break at one point. We are in this class until 3:20 together. So 12, 1:30, we could maybe probably gonna have a break close or before 2 o'clock. When you are thinking of creating the structure for your site, so one of the way that you can do this, and again, rarely are you going to build something from scratch. So look at other websites inside and outside your industry as well. People have built pattern, and you don't. If you're designing a car website, you have to be aware of outside of the industry because people have learned, and there are some patterns that it will expect. For example, about us, right? So if I type about us, sign in, log in, cart, contact us. People expect these items, regardless of which industry you are, right? But there will be some that will be very, very specific. Now, contact us. If email, telephone, this is a kind of a structure, right? There's a bit of a hierarchy. So under contact us, and all of these are related to contact us, you have a sub-level within contact us. So this is a tree structure that you will see. And know your user, obviously. So mind mapping, know the user, validate that with them when you can. So this is where you do your card sorting as well. And then look at your own data. Looking at your own data will give you a lot of insights too. And the data of it will be your starting point. If you do have an existing site and you're thinking of redoing your information architecture, it's because of something. And the something can be that you're finding that people are actually not finding the content. They're not visiting the content as much as you think they should. And then you're comparing and maybe it's actually going down. You see that fewer people are actually going to your content. The other thing as well is maybe you find that when they go to a specific page, they actually just click. They don't do anything. They bounce. And in Google Analytics, there's this concept of bounce rate. That means someone clicks, but they do nothing. They just leave. That means it's not at all what they were expecting. Maybe your label is broken. Maybe it's not at all what they were thinking that they would actually find. And I will expect that Air Miles has a lot of bounce rates. So that would be your trigger to tell you we need to rethink our information architecture. So nowadays, unless you're going to build a new product from scratch, you're optimizing existing information architecture. So you're working with data and you already have a good sense of where maybe things are broken. And if we look at Air Miles, I have not looked at the analytics of Air Miles, but I'm pretty confident that they have a lot of issues. And the bounce rates are probably pretty bad. And the conversion. So if you think of yesterday, the experience of looking for a flight, and they were forcing me to log in, that's a major showstopper. And that I would look at how do I fix and how do we solve that. So I'm pretty sure the data would confirm that. So I'm going to share with you some common errors that you will see in information architecture when you're designing structure. A lot of time we categorize around our business. So we're going to build a structure that we know. I think AirMiles is an example of it. The fact that you have airmiles.ca, then you have airmilesshop.ca, and then I've already typed in airmiles.ca is broken. The fact that offers and rewards are so closely related. But at Air Miles, they know exactly what offers are. And they know that offers is for someone who's actually, who's maybe collecting Air Miles. They know. And then everything there, they will make decisions based on how they're structured internally, but the user has no sense, no clue. So they're not at all customer centric, they're business centric. Their eye is very much about what they know and how they think about their business. Rewards for them is very clear. They know what rewards is when you actually want to redeem your miles and use your points, use your miles. But this is not how consumer will necessarily think, right? So they're a good example, and I'm going to share a few more examples with Sunwing too. Often the labels are unclear, they're confusing, or they're even unknown. I've shared, or fuzzy, right? I show with you some items and labels are very fuzzy as well. Yes, Dream Miles, Cash Miles. Thanks, Michael. Dream Miles, Cash Miles. Okay, let's go back a little bit to Air Miles and the poor thing. we have an expression that says when someone talks about you, your ears actually make noise. In French, I don't know if you have the equivalent in English, but their ears are probably like making a lot of noise at this point. If I can do a equivalent. So yes, dream mouse. So, and I was so puzzled when I was actually even trying to look for flights, right? Remember yesterday, I was trying to look for flights. I had to make a choice. They were asking me to actually, do I want to use miles or cash miles? I have no idea. So that's structure. That is structure, broken. So they're violating, or can someone remember the heuristic? Which heuristic they're violating when the labels, when we think of labels? Do anybody remembers which label, which heuristic principle is tied into labels? I love Kevin. Thank you. If you sneeze, it's caused someone talking about you. Yes. Okay. Where in French, it's your ears. If your ears are making noise, we say ears making noise. Someone is talking about you. Here it's sneezing. You see how differences? Yes. Speaking the same language, Maria. So matching. It's also speaking the same language. It's rule number 2. Match between system and the real world. Awesome. I love it. Their structure is very broken. Okay, so yes, so offers. Is offer a deal or a special? Like special offers, special deals, right? Like offers. The offers in their mind is collecting points. It's points. It's points. And it's also it's special offer is uh you're getting more points. You're getting points, but it's about points. But again, I would redo an IE, and I would have something points or offers, and I would do resort. And I'm sure people will have a lot of issues. But if you roll over offers, what do you see? Featured offers, all offers, saved offers. Okay. I'm sorry, but the more I look at this site and the more discouraged I get. Saved offers. So you roll over and you see featured offers, all offers, saved offers. What is all saved offer, all offers? You see how useless that link is even? So you roll over a link that says, well, click on all offers. It's useless. They have so many things that they should just break. So let's see what they have on their offers. Offer is a bit broken, but this is better, right? But to get to this, you have extra clicks, and you have clicks to things that you don't even know really what they mean. So the site is really, really broken. Poor labelings. The poor labeling. So this would be a very good example, or if someone wants to pick that site for their assignments, I think I encourage you to do. You would have a lot of fun. I'm actually giving you a lot of insight when it comes to this site. They have a lot of work to do, excuse me, for labeling, obviously. And you will see that some sites actually group items that don't belong. They just don't belong. So they probably just did not do cart sorting, did not really think about the user, did not think themselves about the user. And it's not done with research, or they have minimum info about the users. It happens very typically. Why do we think some businesses don't actually involve users? Why do we think businesses don't do any user research? Anybody has I guess. Why do you think a business like Air Miles is actually so bad? Why do you think they would not even do user research? Yes, they do a lot of assumptions. Yes, they could very well be. They think it's too expensive, but they research with the wrong people. Yes, Hannah. They may think it's too expensive, but do you think it's not expensive for getting phone calls? And don't they think that it's actually they're losing customer, they're losing business? Look at me yesterday. I was just trying to redeem points. They think it's unnecessary, absolutely business oriented. They think that they know their business better, and they think that their business is actually easy. They believe they know. Yes, many, many reasons. And also, maybe they've done research, but with the wrong people. That was the other comments I think I know I had done. Mm-hmm. Yes, the best research, the best design will do triangulation. And you're learning research with Yvonne too, and with myself with usability testing, insight, cart sorting. So think of this. what you will learn in card sorting, what you will learn in usability testing about user will help you for all of your design, for any design. You're doing that research in the context of a specific brand, but this will help you for any research. I'm telling you, you will build a lot of knowledge and confidence too, but never assume, try not to assume. But you will not always going to be able to do user research. So obviously they've done bad, and it's pretty bad. Common error, categorizing under business. So a lot of businesses will do their information architecture based on what they know of the business, how they're structured, and about how they're around their departments. So this is Sunwing, and I don't even know if this is still, the page still looks the same. But at the top of, when you go to contact us, at the top of Sunwing, they have something called relay services. And this is at the top. It was at the top back then. Like, what is relay services? And this is the first piece of information that you're showing to your user. And then I go to contact us, and then I have FAQs, great airline travel information. But I'm at Sunwing, so airline travel information, just so that you know, is a division. As a user, let's say that I have information about my package, and my package includes air and hotel. Where do I go for help at this point? I don't know. Okay. And even worse, we are here to help you. And then they have a choice that says submitting a claim for compensation under the Canadian Passenger Protection Regulation regarding a Sunwing airline flight delay or flight cancellation. Does anybody know what the Canadian Air Passenger Protection Regulations are? This is a very good example where we're asking someone to answer something they have no clue. But yes, I want to submit a claim because maybe I had a flight delay. Do I know if it's Canadian Air Passenger Protection? I don't know. So it almost sounds like they want to make it difficult for people to actually submit a claim, and they do. So yes, point 10 of heuristic is absent. Yes. Oh, I love how you bring back heuristic. Yes, absolutely. You know, like maybe give me a little eye, but I will tell you, I think they need to redesign, they need to rethink. So when you see that sites are trying to provide a lot of help in documentation, which is Akshata said, rule principle number 10, help in documentation there. Sometimes it's a sign of bad design. It's also sometimes a sign of they don't really know their users, and their structure. The structure is broken. The IA is broken. Absolutely. Okay. It is hard to change a structure when it's there. But Air Sunwing is a very good example of really, really designed around the business. And that was my biggest challenge. And the airline is managed separately than Sunwing, vacations, and they always want to have their own thing on their airlines. And I had to remind them the customer doesn't think of airlines or Sunwing vacation. For them, it's one of the same brand, but they kept wanting to separate the content on the website because it was their division and their content, and you will be facing this. And what you have to do is you have to go back and see the user wants to submit a claim. The user wants to see how many baggage allowance he has. The user wants to know, can I buy food on board? He doesn't think of airline. He doesn't think of vacations. And then, but what Sunwing is doing is actually saying, do you want Sunwing Vic? I'm going to type in because this is really bad. Sunwing Vacations or Sunwing Airline? It's the same to the customer. They don't make a difference between the two. They don't think of Sunwing as Sunwing Airlines or Sunwing Vacation. To them, it's Sunwing. But you see, fundamentally, they're asking people to make a choice that they don't even know. So what might happen? They may just abandon. Or they may continue to search and be so pissed and leave and have a bad taste in their mouth. One of the common errors sometimes that we see, but we're kind of moving away from structure here in IA. We're kind of talking about design. So I don't know that I want to spend too much time in here, but I wanted to share with you sometimes we do bad things. Is grouping items that do not really belong together. That I will say, this is me, if I say, what do we think, which principle do we think is violated from the heuristic at this point? This may be a little bit harder, okay? But I'm gonna think about what you may think. Let me explain to you what the challenge is. So after I click on submit a claim from the previous page, I get to this page and it says sign in with your booking number to start a new claim or to view an existing claim. I mean, yeah, if I want to do a claim, I need to have a booking number. So this, I probably know what it is. And I should probably be able to enter my booking number in here, right? And then I go next. That's probably my next. So that is like, it's almost like find my booking, right? This would be better than next. This is find my booking. But then they have this link under the booking number that says check your flight status of existing claim, and then you have to click on this. Yes, Michael, consistency and standards. They're trying to apply a standard that actually is not at all related to password, right? To something that I have lost. Often we're gonna find here, it looks like I'm logging in almost. Don't you agree? It almost looks like I'm logging in. I'm logging in using my booking number. And in fact, there's no login at Sunwing. This is what login is at Sunwing. But below my booking number, where usually you'll see forgot my password or forgot my username, they have a user goal here. Check status of existing claim. But I said submit a claim, and then I have this link called check status of an existing claim. I don't understand. What am I going to get when I do this? Am I not retrieving my booking to maybe even view my existing claim? You see how they're putting, this is gold 1, this is gold 2, and they're completely separate, but they group them together. You see how confusing it is? So where do I go if I want to review my claim? It should, there should not be anything that even talks about submitting a claim or of reviewing my claim here. And if they do, the thing should be out. This here should be completely out. It's here. It's completely something completely different. It has nothing. This is a different task, right? I'm retrieving, but I don't really know what I'm doing here. Then it's different here. So small examples, but this probably creates a lot of phone calls at Sunwing. So I'm going to skip this one because this is more related about optimization. You can, in one of the async video that I give you, I talk a little bit some more about this, but I think this is a very good example of where they're hiding, but this will be navigation. So I don't want to confuse, but somewhere in the site architecture at Sunwing, if you were doing the information architecture, you would have something probably for my booking, which is similar to manage my account, right? At Air Miles, manage my account, manage my booking. But they're hiding it. It's hidden at this point. It's really hard to find. It used to be here, but they moved it. When I left, they actually moved it. This is really bad to do it here because it's probably generating a lot of phone calls. So findability we've talked about is really key. But my booking would be an example of category like manage my account at Air Miles that you would probably find on your tree or in terms of hierarchy as well. So we're just going to do a few slides and we're going to break up too. We see a lot of hierarchy structure out there on the everywhere that we do, right? So if you use Google Drive, then I have my drive, then I can click on this course, and then when I go to this course, I see my big project, and then I have all my signed NDAs, right? And then I have the student's name, right? This is hierarchy, and then I can navigate back, right? So there's a course, and then under the course, I have big project, I have course material, I have a class lecture, I have week 1, week 2, and then class lecture. So, right, this is a bit of how also Blackboard is organized. So Blackboard has hierarchy. We have week 1, and then week 1 has all of the class reading, class lecture, recordings, and everything is repeated. So we are in a world of hierarchy. There are more information about hierarchy. This is an org chart, so I've already shared with you. This is hierarchy, right? The director is in charge. So sometimes a hierarchy will give you a bit of a sense of being superior as well, especially when you look at org chart. But the thing is, everything belongs, right? So we have administrator. We are a team, so we can assume that all of these people are part of the same team. This is all finance people. This is all the fire chief. This is all the police chief. So they are related, right? So hierarchy suggests being related. So we know the police. We know what a police like. We already have a bit of a, and I will say, police, fire, and financial are all very distinct set of people that we can already have images and picture to them. Now, if I think of levels, then this will be my level 0, this will be my level 1, this will be my level 2, right? As we speak of level. And I will be speaking of level throughout the course in many of. This is another way that we can do hierarchy. USA, and then there's California, and then in California there's Berkeley, Massachusetts. So this is almost like our location latch that we've taught last week or for our lab. And then a few more best practices when we do hierarchy. So typically you will try to have mutually exclusive items. So you have a police as a police, a fire as a police. So you would want to try not to have items that could belong to two places, but sometimes you will have. It's really inevitable, but you would hope that this would be exception, but you want to aim for a category that are mutually exclusive, right? So join the program or redeem and manage account seem to be all very mutually exclusive. Some categories have become almost very industry specific, and we've seen it for cars, we've seen it for travels, we've seen it for air miles, for loyalty. You want them to be descriptive as possible. Why? So it does two things. It helps with recognition, right? The more words, the more context. Now, of course, you're going to be limited with length. If you say, well, this is going to be maybe my what I see as a category at the top, like fire police. Maybe if I'm designing a website, the org chart, fire police may not all fit on a navigation. You may think of meaningful. Speak my language. Rule number 2, based on mental model, metaphor as well. Sometimes you're going to see metaphor. Anybody knows a metaphor or what would be an example of a metaphor? When it comes to maybe in the site architecture or on the site architecture or hierarchy of a metaphor. Let's say you're designing a website for grocery shopping. Aisle. You will see some sites will say aisle instead of saying products. They're going to say aisle. So they're using like a metaphor. Cart. The cart is a metaphor, right? Shopping cart is a metaphor. The first shopping cart were the shopping cart with the wheels. You're going to see travel sites. They don't use shopping cart. They use bag, suitcase. They use a suitcase. So, but what's key is it's based on the mental model. So knowing the user, know how user think about this think, right? And we say, don't make me think. So if you know how to think, you design based on how to think so that they don't have to think. Woo. 2, let's see. Okay, so I think we've already talked about this. We're going to stop at how do we prioritize or how do we decide on categories as well. Let's take a break. Before we go to break, are there any questions about structure, challenges, or the hierarchy, or anything that I have mentioned so far? We'll take a 10 minutes break. 10 minutes, and then we'll come back. If there are questions now, I'm happy to answer, but and we're going to take some time to talk about the labs before we go. See you in 10, 2:10. Perfect. Welcome back from break. So in the previous slide, I said that we'll carry on and talk about prioritization. How do we prioritize categories? I will say let's keep that discussion for a bit later. I think this is also going to be becoming more relevant for navigation when we also talk about navigation. But in terms of priorities, what to remember is, which is still relevant. So let me just go back. How do we prioritize? For the time being, what you need to worry about, we need to understand the business priorities and the user goals. Okay. So when we say include highly visited at the top, we're talking about navigation, but let's not talk about navigation yet. And when I say aim for high search volume and search engine optimization, this is for labels. Briefly on this, and there's more details about search engine optimization when it comes to labeling that in the videos if you want to listen to some of the async. I share with you a tool in Google that will tell you how often do people search on sofa or sofa beds. Maybe you want to know, do people search sofa or sofa beds? Do people search on chair or kitchen chairs or whatever? The Google search tool that I share with you will give you a sense of volumes. The more high volumes, yes, Google Trends, Shubham. The more search volumes, then the more search volumes mean more people are actually using that term when they're searching for that thing. So that is search engine optimization, and that means that that term speaks more the user language, which is principle number 2. Okay, don't worry for this yet, but this will be useful when you actually think about your labelings. Breadth and depth. So I share with you, and in the lab this week, I ask you if the website is actually using more of a depth or breadth approach. So there's 2 things that you need to know. So there's depth and breadth. So when we think of depth, there are multiple layers in terms of L2 and not a lot of L1. When you think of breadth, there are a lot more of L1, not a lot of L2. Okay, so this is a good example here where we see a lot more items at the top level. Think of the top level. We have 1, 2, 3. So I'm not indicating the right level. So we have a lot more items at this level versus the same structure that has 1, 2, 3, 4. The way they structure, the way they group their site, and the way they create the tree. Here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They have 8 L1. This has 4 L1. So you see we have more levels. We go in depth, right? So this is depth. This one is breadth. Think of breadth as width, and then here it's dense is depth, right? Width and depth. You with me? So the little circle here means this item is a lot quicker to access, right? This item, this page, this piece of content that I'm looking for. Maybe this is my table for my furniture. Is a lot quicker to access than when I go to a site structure that has a lot more depth. And I will show you illustrate that into an Excel with you as well. So I need to do a lot more click. I need to click here, I need to click here, and I probably need to click here to see that item. So it's 3 or 4 clicks. So it takes longer to actually get to the items that you're looking for, right? And often this is probably what you're looking for. This is probably what you're also looking for. These are the actual pages. These are the pages on the site that you want. So manage my account, view my bill, pay my bill. In one instances, they're higher, right? They're a lot quicker to access. So the benefits are breadth. higher, more visual set, right? So if you think of that this is your navigation, for example, you will see a lot more items listed and you'll go, okay, this site offered me this. It's quicker to access the content and the recognition. They use recognition, less cognitive load. They're showing items. They're showing more items. So I can see, oh, tables, beds, couches, desk. Here I see maybe bedroom, living room, and then maybe I see table, desk, then I see a list. So desk has a limited visual set because I only see 4 items. Then I have to remember or guess where maybe I'm going to see something. It takes longer to access content and they use recall. And if you remember recognitions and recall as one of your principle, it's better to use recognition, right? Because you see, you show. It's like learning a language. It's easier to read. Reading means recognizing the words. When I show you words, you can say, oh, yes, it means this. When I say Shuban, what is eating in Portuguese? You have to remember, you have to go back to you try to do recall. When I show you eating in Portuguese, you'll say, of course, it is X as well. So it's better to use, or let me ask you the question, which one is better, death or breath? Which one should you aim for when you can, when you have the option to use death or breath? Yes, breath. Yes, absolutely. Breath is better for many, many reasons that I have listed below under each one of them. And then I'm going to show you, let's see some example of Rogers. It's easier for user to quickly see. Yes, easier to see, find, because they already see online, right? They see more options. Let me share Rogers. And I will ask you, is Rogers, if we pay attention to the main navigation, shop, my Rogers, and support, 3 items right there. Would you be inclined to say that they're using breath or death? 3 items, 2 of which are very similar, my Rogers and support. Yes, yes. Typically, death will have 2, 3, I will say maybe 4 options on the navigation. You can already, when there are 4 items, you can almost think that this is more towards a death, depending on the business size, right? Depending on how much content you have on your site, versus 5, 6, 7, 8. Then when you think of 5, 4 is probably in between. Fence, 4 is on the fence. But when you think of 5, 6, 7 items that are all separate, different in nature, mutually exclusive, also almost, you have more of a breadth because you're showing more elements. Look at all the white space that there are between the logo and shop, support and search. Okay. So, and I will say, when you think of breadth and depth, I usually think of product related items. I don't think of find a store, sign in, search, Ontario French. These are not, once you've set those, this is it. They have nothing to do with your product. Think of breadth and depth in terms of product, the breadth of how many products do I show from the get-go versus am I hiding the products? Depth is hiding the products. Breadth is, am I showing all the products? Think of it. Am I make full use of my window, right? Think of a window in a store. The more products I show, then when I walk by your store, I may actually want to stop by. It may actually make me stop. It may actually make me go to your store, right? If I think with a breath. Where Rogers, they're hiding a lot of items. Look at what you see on their shop. Why not have wireless, right? Why have shop? Do most people come to Rogers to shop anyway? Why not assume that everything is about shopping, but I will have some section that are there to help someone who needs support. I will have a section that will help a Rogers customer to manage their account, which is my Rogers. But why not assume shop? So instead, Rogers could actually have bypass shop and just have wireless, internet, home, at least list a few more services, right? Imagine if suddenly now I show you wireless, internet, home. Then I see my Rogers in support, and I would almost even move. Now we're kind of talking about navigation slash placement, but this is relevant for our death and breath conversation. Rogers is missing out on an opportunity to show a lot more items uh, on the navigation, or in their categorization. They could actually just bypass shop and use wireless, internet, and home. And maybe they have other products, right? Or they have something that says all products. So if you see wireless, home, listed side by side, and you see next to it, you see something that says all products. Let me just draw what I mean. Instead, if I were Rogers, I would say wireless, I would say internet, I would say TV, and then all products. Yes, and then phone, P for phone. What happens as a user is I get a very good sense of what does Rogers sell, right? Versus something that says shop, support. It's a waste of time. Plus, I'm not getting a good sense of what can I buy at Rogers. We know Rogers, but not everybody knows Rogers. There's so much more to see. And this is all shop related. Bypass, kill shop, give quick access, remove a layer. That is what they should do better. And my Rogers and support are very close, very, very similar. Let me share with you another example that I have just put together, and I went back to our furniture. So with furniture, and I know this is Excel, and maybe it's hard for you to visualize, but think almost what I have in the gray background could maybe be your entry points or your level one. Okay, so these are all level ones. So we have one scenario where we could use this approach. So we have furniture. Then I have to click on furniture. Then when I click on furniture, then I see bedrooms. Then I have to click on bedrooms to find my table. Maybe table is what I want. I'm looking for table. So I had to do 1, 2 clicks to get to table. Then when I click on bedrooms, I actually get to see other things, but it's 2 clicks to get to tables. Then clicks on tables. So it's 3 clicks to actually see a list of tables, right? Versus the other approach. So the other options that you have is you could say, I'm actually going to use furniture, but I will assume, or I will not use bedroom. I'm going to use furniture, and I will actually then move directly to sofa and lamps. So to get to my, this here, and almost frozen on me. So I'm eliminating one level. Is better, right? I'm eliminating bedroom. I'm bypassing bedroom, and then we said, and I should probably put my table here. So it's one less click to get to tables. Tables is really what I want to see, and I need to almost put it white. And then or The other option is I assume I have furniture. I don't need to say furniture. I will not say furniture because that's all of what I sell. And I'm going to go right into listing my products. So I'm going to list tables, sofa, clicks. So to get to my tables, it's one click. Not only it's faster to get to table, but I also give you that we sell sofas and we sell lamps, because this I would see on my navigation too, most likely, if that's the choice that I make. You see the value of fewer clicks? In the end, I can show all of what I sell on top of sofa, on top of tables that you may be interested in. So Rogers should do that, the equivalent. So you will see breadth and depth. Breadth is a better approach because you see more items and it's quicker to get to the items that you're interested in and you're looking at. Okay. So I hope this is helping you to be convinced, if you were not convinced, that breadth is a better option. And then in the lab, I ask you the question about, based on what you've learned about depth and breadth, do you believe that the site that I invite you and ask you to do spend some time on is actually using breadth and depth? There's no right or wrong answer. But what you really have to do, though, for that specific example that I give you, you have to look and click on the items and see if they are really products. And then my advice to you is focus on products related. Sign in, login, support. I will say sign in, login. Sign in, login. English, French, my cart. I don't consider them as products. I don't even include them in the number of items that them to know if it's breadth or depth. I really focus just on product specific items. Roots is a good example of another site that use breadth. Roots really use a lot of they are eliminating categories, and they're trying to show you the equivalent of tables, so that it's quicker and they're showing more items at once. That's really the question that you can think of. If you look at Air Canada seems on surface, do we think, if we look at Air Canada on screen, would you be inclined to say that Air Canada is using more of a depth or more of a breadth? And I would probably stop here. Yes, Michael, absolutely. It looks like a breadth. And yes, some items are probably useless. So I would maybe not even consider sign-in, and in fact, sign-in should be more at the top. So yeah, it's a tough question. It could be breadth or it could be depth. I think that at the end of the day is, are users able to find what they want to do, right? The submenus have a lot of items below. Yes, Shabam, you're right. On surface, when I look at really just these items, on surface, it looks like they may be breadth, right? But I don't think that I would even include IO plan. IO plan, I would move to the top. And even customer support, right? I think they're just not making good use. So book, plan, we're left with book, plan, fly, and then special offers, right? So we're left with four. We're in between. We're kind of like, it could be breath of death. Again, I will never penalize you for saying it's breath, as long as you can justify maybe what your choices are. But on surface, it looks like they're using a breath, but I think they're misleading us. They're on the fence of being breath or death, but they have so much book. Yeah. The more I think about that, I just think that Air Canada, this is what they sell at 90% of the time. They sell flights. So why not do more something like flights? Don't even have books, right? We could do some rearranging and recategorization and reprioritization on the Air Canada side too, right? So perhaps we would find that flight passes could be added to, to the hierarchy and the navigation, or a new division, a new grouping as well. But flight, why not have flights? Like, this is what they sell. So they're doing a little bit of a mix of Rogers here. They're hiding the 90% of what people buy. Why not have flights on here as well as a category and then have subcategories under them too? So they're using a bit of a mix of a breadth and a depth. They're misleading us, but I will say that they're probably towards more of a depth. The key is, where do I go to book a flight? And I think we've already said as well when we're looking at this slide, fly and book, they're so similar. I would just say flights, you know, probably, but this is where we would do cart sorting. But I do think there are opportunities to do better, give quicker access, do better, and present and use better language for to match the user. They're using flight for flight. They're using flight for. That's a question on the chat from Ashata. The fly means when you are about to leave, all the things you need to do, all the things you need to know. So you're already post booked. You already have a booking. So you're already a customer. So there would be some rework to be done. Yeah, I know. Air Canada could use a lot of love as well. But on surface, it looks like breath. But the more you dig and the more you look, I think they're kind of maybe towards more of a death. As long as you can at least, justify why you think that it's more of a breath than a death, then this is even more important than actually even putting a label. And then to even say, I believe that it's hard for customer. I will say here, it's hard. It doesn't matter if we call it breath of death. It's actually not easy to know where to go to book a flight because book and flight are so close. They're not even the two related. And flies on the main navigation. That's even worse. And I would say flight is what they sell. They should really, really have something just for flight. Have a group for category for flights and plan. Oh, and plan. Where do I go to book a flight? Plan flights. Like you see how fuzzy? Very, very fuzzy. So again, let's think of the user goal. What is the user goal? Is really, really important. So I picked on Air Canada as well. Another type of hierarchy. So this is where, because we're talking about category and hierarchy, but let me read at Tanisha. Maybe they should have a section that clearly says after you book or something like that. Yes, before leaving, before traveling. Absolutely, Tanisha. So this is good. You're going about how would user think of this, right? So yes, before, after you book, or before you travel. Travel info. I think it used to be called travel info. And Air Canada probably said it's boring. Let's be cute. Let's call it fly. And I will tell you, Air Canada is not the most advanced when it comes to user-centered design. So I was lucky at Air Canada Vacation that I had full autonomy on how the site was designed and the architecture and the hierarchy of the site. And I did not have to get approval from Air Canada, but I can tell you they're not very strong from UX design. And I don't even think they have in-house UX design. I think they work with partners. And the challenge is, it's good to have a partner, but no one else knows better your business than you. So especially when it comes to user experience design, why would you leave it up to an external partner and not own your customer and own your customer experience? So now you know a bit about my view of your customer is critical to your business, but why would you outsource? What's the most critical to your business? That would be the question. Here's another type of hierarchy that we have, and I think this is from Sunwing, and we're actually seeing a bit of hierarchy slash some latch. So trending is a bit like our continuum, remember? So this suggests trending, and somewhere there's not trending. But of course, they will never say that. We only see trending, popular, most popular, but it's on a continuum. The latest vacation inspiration. So we have hierarchy when we think of countries. So we have countries, locations, and then we have weddings. So this is another type of vacation. Weddings, topics, adults only, family. So they have some groupings, right? They have some categories. So they have destination categories, weddings related, or topics related. And topics, I think, is a broad term in here. But they are using one type of category, and there is there's a notion of hierarchy. If we were to click to Antigua, then we would probably get other destinations, the cities that they fly to. Same thing with Jamaica. So there would be a sense of hierarchy, or as well in terms of how they are all related. Thinking about levels. So we've talked about levels, and this is just a recap. Level 0 usually is your home. So this often you're going to see your home at level 0, and then you're going to have your level 1 and your level 2. And sometimes you will do indented, and you may have level 3 as well. And then when you go to level 4, this, I get a little bit concerned with level 4 but sometimes you have no choice if you have a lot of content. But level 4 means it will take a lot of clicks for someone to actually get. And but when I look at this diagram, I get a sense of hierarchy, right? I get a sense that this is at the top. This is superior to this level. So you can almost think that these are undernode. So this is, there's superior, but they all belong to one. So I can already visually know that these are grouped and these belong together in the sense of what comes first, right? I need to click here to see this, and same thing. And then I see the 2 when I click on here. So we have hierarchy, and I will tell you, if you give me this as an IE with the labels, I will be happy. You don't need to be super creative with IP. We're going to talk about diagramming soon too. But the almost simple I's are almost like this. You need to be able to understand it without having to read a legend or instructional book. So, but we will talk more about diagram. Okay, the steps that you will follow when you actually want to create your category, and we've already talked about this. The first thing is you have to start about the business. So you want to write down your business goal, right? So you do want to write down your business goal. That will give you ideas. So we want to sell flights. We want to sell, let's say, hotels, etc. So these will become items or even cards. Think ideas of contents you want. And maybe we want to save cost. The save cost will tell you all the things that you have to think about your self-serve, right? So manage my booking if you're at Sunwing. Then you will think about, then you can start thinking about product names as well. So what will be some of the product names, or that you actually know that you will be selling as a business? And then you want to maybe there's some business challenges as well that you're trying to fix. And maybe you have, that some people are having a hard time. So you would maybe find contact us. Maybe people can't find contact us and you've been told. Then you have a card that maybe you have a different color that tells you this is a priority for the business. So at the end, you end up with, you can almost have a card. You have sets of cards or set of items for all of these. So one will be flights, right? One will be hotels. One will be manage. One would be for contact us. Okay, I'm skipping, but at least you know that hopefully there's representation of the business, the products that you're selling, and the business challenges. We don't have a priority yet. And we're not designing yet, but at least we have cards, we have ideas of content that we think that will be available, and that will help us. You can already for each, and then you can already think of structure as well. And all of these, right? Product and flight, you already know that these will be products. And maybe you're going to have a category that says product, and you're going to have flights and hotel below it. Then you're going to have maybe a category for managed booking, and that's maybe, before traveling, but we don't know yet, right? You're just getting ideas and inspiration. And then contact us. There's going to be probably something that will say contact us, chat, email. So you're kind of in brainstorming, and we're going to do a little exercise on the Miro. Then you want to think about your user goals too. So maybe you want to think flights. Then you go back to business and say, when we think of flights, then what would be some of the business goals for flights? Book a flight, change my flight, view flights, search for flights, cancel my flights, right? You can think about anything, and then you do cards. And then you do the same thing with hotels. View hotels, pick hotels, cancel my hotel, change hotel. Then you will do the same thing. Manage. What is manage? My booking at Air Canada. View my booking, add my seat selection, add cancel my booking, change my booking, add travel insurance, right? And then you have this at this point, you have all of your content ideas. And then if you're designing an existing site, then you will look at the existing site as well. And you want to make sure that you're not losing anything. Then you can review competitor website. Then you can start writing category names as well if you want, but you don't have to worry. You wouldn't have to worry this much. At this point, what we're going to do, this is where we do the cart sorting, okay? I'm sharing more with you than what we need right now when you think of categories or a hierarchy, but so that you can connect this, what we do now with cart sorting. And then we add up with a bunch of cards or post-it, and that will become a cart sorting. And next week, we're going to talk about cart sorting. But at this point, what we have is we have, let's say, 50 to 100 cards that we have. And then we can start building hierarchy with those cards, and we can start even grouping them. And then at the end, we kind of get a sense of a tree. It's really unavoidable. And I will show you that, and I will do the exercise. So you probably have a lot of questions, but let's move on to Miro, and you will see what I have prepared. And again, this is all in your slides, and it's available for you to look around. Oh, and let me share the link. I'm going to copy the link to Miro in the chat. So you're all going to have, and I think I've already posted that link in the deck. So I just posted a link to Miro. And please go to Miro and click on the link, and I can see that people are joining. Awesome. And yeah, so this Miro board is available for us. And what we're going to do is we're going to think about creating a hierarchy tree structure for a vacation website. I can see everybody's moving around. So we're going to try to create a hierarchy tree structure, or what looks like almost like a grouping of items for a vacation website. What I want to share with you is what I have done is I have created cards. So in yellow, those are my cards. So I've done what I said. I've sat down and I thought about, if I think of designing a website for a travel website, what would be some of the business goals? And then I started listing items. I actually went to Excel first. And then I start listing what would a consumer would want to do, or what would I find on the travel website. I stick to really products. I try to stick to products. I will tell you why, because I don't want to confuse, because we're not redesigning the entire website at this point. I wanted to play with categories and structure in hierarchy within a specific category, which is products. So we pretty much only have products related items, but you may think that we also have destination related items at this point. And then I just listed, and I will show you what I did. So I thought of user goal. I thought of what do I know about the user. I thought about competition. What have I seen? And I thought about what have I seen. And then typically the customer would also have given you a lot of items, list of things that they want to do, right? That they actually want to include on their site. This is how you would do this, most likely. But I went to Excel, and then I just created an Excel sheet. And then I really just went into Excel and I typed in my items. Let's see, sheet 1. Yeah, I went to Excel, and then I just typed in vacations, flights. I went to what do I think when I think of vacations? And then I was a bit of brainstorm mode. Of course, I have a lot of knowledge about vacation, but I just list a bunch of items, and I kind of, as I said, I limited them to products at this point. I could have many other cards, but I said, let's focus on product-related cards, okay? So I focus on product-related cards. Like furniture, like we focus on furniture for that site, but we didn't think about my account, support, FAQs, help. We didn't think about these items. I really just think about product-related, so for a vacation. And I listed them, and in Excel, the beauty with, and you probably know this by now, I can copy paste, and I can paste in Miro, and it will actually create the cards automatically. Are we all familiar with the fact that you can actually copy paste from Excel into Miro and it creates cards? Did you know you could do that? Okay, yeah, you can. So you copy paste, and for some of your projects and your assignment, I suggest that you actually use Excel, and I gave Excel as well as a starting sheet for some of the assignment. If you copy paste into Miro, it will create automatically the cards that I have, the yellow cards that we have. So very, very useful. Let me go back to our board. So what I have done is what I like for us to do. I like for you to think about, let's create a tree structure with the yellow cards. So what we can do is you start creating the tree, or for all of the cards that we have. So perhaps you want to move them and the yellow cards for vacation. So let's focus on the yellow cards. And because we're so many in this class, it will be very fast. But let's see if we can create a hierarchy for the yellow cards for vacations. So you can move them, and maybe you can move them outside of the frame if you want. Yes, I see we're on the right track. I love watching Miro when we have this many people that are in a class. It's quite fascinating. We're seeing cluster, right? We are seeing cluster of content. Yay. Destinations, products. It's not always necessarily clear on where some of the cards or some of the cluster could be, or even like the hierarchy, right? With some of the items. That's understood. We have to begin to start from somewhere. But I can see that we are kind of having hierarchy and clusters among the cards. Good. We're kind of doing some card sorting without really knowing it at this point. It's almost like card sorting. We're crossover of card sorting. Now, if you think that two cards are at the same level, then they would need to be side by side. Yes, absolutely. So like November and December, so if you think that things are at the same level, then they need to be side by side, right? To communicate that they're at the same level. They're equal. Good. Okay. Yes, this is making so much sense. You guys are doing a great job. I'm glad to hear that, Ashley, you're happy to learn something new. Yes, the paste is good. Pasting in Miro is awesome. Okay, so you see how we've changed a bit of the structure. When I said things that are at the same level, then you want to show them at the same level. Yes, we have a hands up, Shubham.
So I have a question, Eve. So
Yes.
like right now I'm observing other people as well, but pretty much all of these are UX design aspirants, so they know better. But let's say the people whom I actually be carrying out card sorting exercise with. So should we be guiding them because they might be way more unguided than these people? So like they don't know what to do or what to expect, or should we just let them do it on their own?
So you're referring to, just to make sure I understand correctly and not assume, Shabat, you're saying we are all like designers. Some of us have done this or have done design. We're kind of biased on how this should be structured. Should we not have people that know nothing about in design
Yeah,
and then have
yeah, that
them?
is what I'm
Yes,
saying. Yeah,
absolutely. You're right. This is what we would do in the cart sorting. So we're not, it looks like we're doing a cart sorting right now, but we're not really do one. We're kind of trying to build a tree structure and hierarchy using cards. But you're absolutely right. What you just said is what you do for cart sorting, which we will talk about next week. But it looks like we're doing cart sorting. We are kind of doing a bit of a cart sorting
yeah.
using card, but our goal is to build hierarchy and structure. Absolutely, though. We're a bit biased.
And also I would want to know, like, should we be just observing, like, as designers when we are carrying out card sorting with our
Yeah.
whosoever the target audience is, should we be
Yes.
just observing quietly or advising them about
You,
something or
no, it will be observing, and you will do a lot more observation than talking. Yes,
okay, okay,
absolutely.
okay.
Yes,
Thank
good. You're on the right
you.
track for card sorting. So right now, here we're trying to get a sense of if we had to build structure on those cards, how would you go about building the structure? At the end of the day, as a professional, you will start from somewhere. You will want to start maybe with someone and have a bit of an opinion, but you will validate with your card sorting activity. Okay, so what I need is I need the class to tell me when you guys feel that you're done, or you feel that you're stuck, or um you've done you went as far as you could when it comes to this trying to create hierarchy with the cards that we had. But I see that there's still movement, so that's good. I'm observing, so I'm being silent, but I'm observing what is being done. So when you do card sorting, and when you do this kind of activities, if you have a cards that you don't feel that it's appropriate labels, you could change it. Locations. So you may want to think, is location, I can see harsh deep. Is location a good term in this, in us trying to build a tree structure? If you already know that maybe a label is kind of like not optimal, and you really want to match the user, or what we see, maybe location is not really a good term. Maybe you call it destination. Absolutely. So when you build your tree structure, you want to go with what you know to the best of your knowledge, even though you know you're going to validate with the user. When you create your tree structure, you want to create at least a structure that you think would be the best structure, and not just say, well, I'm going to validate with user. Sometimes there's no point to validate if you already know it's broken, right? So maybe destination is a better term. So good. I see that we've changed destinations. Okay. So we have a cluster for destination, cluster for flights, cruises, price, deals, hotels. Yeah, I can see, we see the hierarchy. I can start to see the hierarchy. What you may want to do is maybe you want to use the same color for all of our hierarchy level 1 as well. So you could change the color of what you think would be a hierarchy for all of our level 1s. And then you could do the same thing with level 2. All same color for level 1, all same color for level 2, so that we can just see quickly what will be our levels. This is so much fun to be able to see all of this live. We're gonna have a chance to talk about the brief about this structure. I have a dog. Her name is Mel. I may have mentioned this class, but she hates the vacuum when they do the vacuum in the corridor. So this is Mel that you're hearing. I'll introduce you to Mel soon. I don't think too many dogs are deep love vacuums. She really, in fact, she hates the vacuum. I really like what this class is coming up with. So we're doing a mix of a tree structure, card sorting, uh, brainstorm mapping. So that's awesome. So I see that we have 2 teams. It looks like we do have 2 teams. That's good. Okay, I see that now we're moving. I think we're getting very, very refined. I think we're trying to refine it. We're trying to get to nitpicky or more specific, which is good. Now I see that we're kind of like we're moving more cards, and I don't know if it's because we're trying to have the 2 teams to come to one. Um, that's fine too, which is harder if we want to now amalgamate 2 of the solutions into one. That becomes a bit more of a challenge, but
I think everyone's pretty much finished moving things around now. I think it's just
Okay.
like things going back and forth at this point.
Yeah. Okay. So I say that we could probably debrief and talk quickly about what we've seen, what we've noticed, and what we came up with, and then maybe some of the challenges that we found. Absolutely. Okay. So first of all, can I get some feedback, or anybody would want to share, like what was maybe some of the challenges as we were trying to come up with a tree structure for the cards, the different cards that were suggested. Anybody wants to share their experience? Yeah, so the categorization and how do we group, and how would we even like maybe even call, right? The top category, what would be the top category, and maybe what the name would be. Yes, so assuming that labels can't change. So the good news is the labels can be changed at some point if we want to. And we will do a lot more of this, like the label changes and the card sorting, and you will do this in your teams as well. We're kind of like going ahead a little bit with almost like the court sorting. But yes, the label is can be a bit of a challenge of, and also which one should be the top level, and then what happens, what comes. There's not one way, right? There's multiple way. We should have different opinions of how it should be organized. Absolutely, this is why we do court sorting. So, but in your teams, you'll be able to do exactly this, and you'll be able to talk about it and talk and share and exchange. It'll be easier. But I will say I'm pretty amazed with what the team have come, and we see that we have kind of like two solutions. We kind of have two solutions to what we think the tweet structure would be. But there's obviously we we all started by moving the cards that we believe actually belong to one another, and I think the first moving of cards is actually very easy to do, and then because the things that are really related will come together very easily. But then the challenge may be about what will be my top level, my second level, and then where do I put certain cards that actually could probably belong in multiple places, right? So is anybody else that wants to share, and then we're going to look at the actual cards and what we come up with structure. Is there any other observation or challenges that you found that you were facing? Yes, no, I know. And yes, when you do this in your teams, you're going to be in break. You can use Breakout. You can use any other tools, Google Meet or any other tools that you normally use, or Zoom when you're going to do your card sorting in class for some of the assignment. It would be better to be able to talk about these things, right? To talk as we do. Absolutely. So now, and then maybe we've ended up moving things that someone else was moving as well. But let's see what we have come up with in terms of first level, and maybe even grouping. So we've said we're gonna have something for destinations related. So destination in this case is, let's say, level 1. So we have level 1 for destination. Let's all look at our level 1. Then we say we probably have other cards that are related to deals. So and then we have another set of cards that have to do with hotels. We have another set of cards that have to do with flights. We have another set of cards that have to do with cruises, which is good. And then I look at the second solution. I think the second solution has very similar top level 1 hierarchy. So that's great. So I think we have consistency. Now let's look at level 2. So for level 2, we had sun destination or Europe. So if I look at destination and we have sun destination in Europe, great. I think they're mutually exclusive, right? And the user will know that you either want to go to sun or you either want to go to Europe. Now, you may have had challenges with, do everybody knows what sun destination is? And I will say it's become a standard. But I think we've at least agreed that we have a level for sun destination potential. We're going to have a level for sun destination and one for Europe. I think Paris and Rome were obvious. They're at the same level. And Cancun, Jamaica, Cuba, and Varadero. We've put Varadero and Cuba at the same level, but Varadero is part of Cuba, right? So if you really want to think about level in architecture or a level in the hierarchy, you would probably have to move Varadero below Cuba in this space if we wanted to communicate a sense of hierarchy. I will reveal Cuba. Very little belongs to Cuba, and then there's other destinations under Cuba. Okay, but I think we did very well for destination and sun in Europe. Then if I look at deals, so we've said we're gonna have a section. Yes, Cancun is Mexico too. So yes, but yes, and here's a challenge, Ashley. I pick vacations, and as if you ever work for vacation, when it comes to deciding on categorization for destination and the countries and the continent and all of these, it can get very, very messy. Very messy, very complex. But for the purpose of this class, yes, Cancun in Jamaica, and Cancun is part of Mexico. You would probably need to have Mexico, da, da, da. But I will tell you though, you could actually make the choice to list Cancun and bypass Mexico. Let's say that maybe you only have Cancun, you don't have Mexico, so that you have a bit of a less of an extra click. You could decide and choose to do that too if you wanted. But I will say your comment is a great one. But for the purpose of this exercise, I will say it's a very, very fine element. So deals is we kind of build the expectation that often you're going to find deals or sales. So we've said, okay, we're going to have price or all inclusive. So, and then we're going to have golf vacation and spa vacations. I think that deals is a bit more of a challenge. And then all inclusive. We may have all inclusive for golf vacation and spa vacation, absolutely. And then when we think of deals, we probably think of price. So here's what I was thinking of price. So if I may, or maybe we're going to come back to deals, or let's say, I think price. So perhaps you may want to have deals and you want to look at deals per price. So maybe this is what the intent was for keeping the price card. But I was actually thinking of price as, if I think of a hotel in a family hotel, price will come below a specific hotel, right? So, and the same thing with, you could almost repeat the cart for price to, price would end up to all products, 7-day cruises, and then you have price. Then you would have price for your flights, then you would have price. So if we think of element for your flights, all products would have at some point a element that will talk about pricing, right? Once you've picked the product. So, and then all inclusive of spa vacations. So you could, what you will see in some of the sites, you will almost have a level 1 of all inclusive. And then you will have all inclusive, and you may have golf vacation or spa vacation. Absolutely, you will have themes. So again, there's no one recipe, but you could very well have even a category called vacation thematics or type of vacation, and then you would have family golf, and you would have spa, and you will have everything there too. But we didn't choose that, but that could be another way that we could do our categorization or hierarchy in this side too. Okay. We could leave deals the way that we have. Now we look at flights. So then we have flights. So now we're talking about products, right? So hotels and flights. If we think of hotels, cruise, and flights, those are products, right? They're products related. So I put them in the same color. They're almost at the same level. And we could also even have a category that is called, or a level called products. And then you would have flights, cruises, and you would have hotel underneath them, right? So if we wanted to have a new cards, a new level, then you would have your flights, then you would have your cruise, and then you would have your your hotels. But that's not the choice that we've made, right? We didn't make that choice. We said we are not going to create a product category. We will assume that everything that we have is product, because I told you that all of these cards were product related. So we didn't have to create products, but at some point depending on what else you have available on your site, you may have a category called products. But here we've said we're not going to have it. But if you had one, because you would have other items, then you could have flights. But you could also choose not to have, so that you bypass one category, and it's quicker eventually to get access to the content too. Let's carry on to what have we seen for hotels. So for hotels, but again, hotels is level 1 as we've done. Then we may have 5-star or 4-star hotels. And then when we pick a 5-star hotels, we maybe have family hotels or adults only or beachfront hotels as well. And then the same thing with 4-star hotel, when we have family hotels, when we have adults hotels, when we have beachfronts. And then we have, for each ones, we would have a price element that would come too. And then we have a second solution for the other team. So the other team said, we're going to have something for destination. And then we're going to have country, continent, Europe. And then we're going to have Rome, da-da-da-da. Absolutely. So that would be another sense of hierarchy that you would have. Then we have Cuba and Varadero. Then we said we're going to have flights, flight as one of our level 1. Then we will have flight departure time, flight arrival time, 7 duration, 5 days duration. And then we're going to have the date departure once we have the flight departure. Then we have cruises, and then we said 7 days duration, and then we have either the choice of 5 days, and then we're going to have the departure element below once we've selected if we want to do 5 days or 7 days. Then we said deals, maybe we'll have spa vacation deals or all-inclusive golf vacation, and then the hotels. So the hotels, we said maybe I want to have the choice of 5 4-star family hotels. So here we had a bit of a different approach on, we've put at the same level 5 for family, adults, and beach, which is perfectly fine too. And then we could also even create a thematic for hotels as well, for hotels types or thematics vacation, which would look similar to almost products. We could almost create one that says vacation type. Let's see. And then here we could have our, let me just beach. We have adults only. Spa. And golf. So that could be another option that we would have done in our categorization and level. We could have a vacation type at level 1 as well. I'm going to put level, these level back to white because we had done them white. Okay, so if I look at the first solution, we have destination, we have flights, we have cruises, we have deals, we have hotels, we have products, and we have vacations. But we've said we don't want products. So I'm erasing products, and I think it's a smart decision to do. And so that we don't have to have something for products, that means we're actually going to show, we would show our products at the top level, right? Flight, cruises, hotel. So we would do what Air Canada is not doing, and we would do what Rogers is also not doing very well. And then I said we could have created something that says vacation type and also have adults, spa, and then golf, and then probably have more as well as one of the level. So with this first solution, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 6 products, level 1. So do we have a breadth? Do we have a depth? What would you be inclined to say that we have in terms of architecture? Yes, we have a breadth. It seems like we have more of a breadth type of architecture, and this is only for products, right? Only for products. So one of them is destinations. Now, decisions you could do a decision that let's pretend that your website is all about vacation and you're only selling vacation and destination vacations. You could make the choice of actually not have something that talks at all about destination, and you could just have sun destination Europe, and you could almost make these as your level one if you wanted to, and almost eliminate your destination cards. That could be something that you could do. Or you can keep to destination, right? No one recipe. Okay, deals. So deals, yes, deals. Sun destination deals. These, I think deals will need to have a little bit more thinking at this point. But I think we agree that we would probably have a level for deals if we a level one for deals. But we would need to really think about all-inclusive golf and spa. So we could probably say golf and spa is gone because we have maybe vacation types, like per vacation, the type of vacations that you want. And then there we have our adults and spa. And then we have hotels. Our hotels, we have our flights and our cruises. So we built some hierarchy. So the goal was not to have a final hierarchy, but we wanted to get a sense of hierarchy based on cards that we've said. And then the other team did something very similar as well. So destination, flight, cruises, deals, and hotels. And then we have a good sense of what would be then the next selection of Europe, continent, and country city. Then we would have flight departure, flight arrival, 7 days, 5 days duration. So the duration element, we could. So what we have, oh, I think here's what we're missing. We're missing packages. So we are missing one type of cards that would probably be packages. Maybe we didn't have the card. Or all-inclusive usually is packages. Now, how do I know this? It's because I've worked so long on travel sites, and you can almost think of all-inclusive as a product type. All-inclusive is almost a level one. For all-inclusive vacation, we can still keep deals, and we can still have vacation all-inclusive, all-inclusive, and then but all-inclusive could also have destinations of them too, if you wanted to, as well. But we don't. The goal was not to do a complete architecture, but there are multiple ways that we could solve. But I do think that we have a good sense of hierarchy for our level ones and our level two, and that was really more of the intent. 7 days duration, 5 days duration, you would probably need to repeat those cards as well. Like in terms of levels, you would have probably the same than what we've seen for cruises and cards in terms of hierarchy, and then you would have a price element as well that would probably play, right? You would have your price and you would have your price. Of course, there are probably all-inclusive destinations too. Travel is complex, okay? The goal was to see, can we work with cards and build some hierarchies? And then also see, do we have at the end here, do we have more of a breadth and a depth? We definitely have more of a breadth, and it's all product related. Where it would get complex is, and we were here, it was easy because we were just dealing with cards for products related. But as we get better, we're going to start having cards for support, right? We're going to have cards for manage, manage vacation. We're going to start adding more cards and more to our structure. It will become more complex. But some of those cards could be level one as well, and then they will be added to our IE, but we're not there yet. And then there would be hierarchy below them. So it's 3:21. Are there any questions about hierarchy and the levels and the breadth and depth, or even how we do the groupings that we've done. And this is just the beginning. You'll be doing so much more in all of your assignment, believe me. We've done this more in this class than I think I had done with the other 2 classes that I teach, that I taught the same course. So we had more chance to do some practice. Let me see, go, oh yes, the lab. So this is, no, the lab for tonight, this week is not even this. The lab for this week, you're not even moving cards. You're just going to be looking at the site and answering a few questions for the site, for the lab. But we could probably, for the lab, I can go to the lab now and give a bit more insights. The lab is not at all, it's a lot easier than what we've done tonight. So we're going to park the lab for now. Does hierarchy structure have to be reflected on the actual website? For example, we have the product's flights on the main navigation panel, and let's say sun destination on the main page as well when it's spring break era. The site of the hierarchy structure will help you building your information architecture, and you will see that there will be your site information architecture and your navigation may look similar, or they may not at all look similar. So you don't even have to think yet about where will flights, hotels, cruises, sun, destination be on my site yet. We have a sense that they may actually be on the top navigation, but we're not committing to any placement on the actual site yet. But if it helps you to think in terms of navigation, that's okay if it helps you. But right now we're still not even talking about placement. Actually, we're just thinking about, we had 20, I think it was 30. We had 30 cards that we had to align and find hierarchy among the cards. We had to get a sense of how are they related, which one are related, and what will be the hierarchy for those cards. And that's it. We're not even thinking placement yet. We're not thinking about navigation, but it's hard to not think about navigations. But you will see that most of it could actually end up on navigation. All of our white cards could very well end up on the navigation eventually, but you don't have to. We're still just thinking about the type of content and the type of cards that you will see on the vacation side based on what you know, based on the business, and based on the user goals, and you're trying to group and relate and have a sense of hierarchy among those pieces of content, and that's it. We're going to talk about this is not even information architecture, but we kind of we're starting to think this looks like a bit like a information architecture diagram, doesn't it? So, but the goal was really to see what do we think is related, and then what would be some level of hierarchy within the cards that we have. Like here we have price everywhere, but in the actual navigation, the price would probably just be a filter for the information. Yes, so we do absolutely, Kevin, we don't know yet. The price here was more about the price. When you think of a hotel, there's a price, right? Think of these as attributes. At this point, some cards would you can think of some of the cards as attributes. Price will be an attribute, 5-star will be an attribute, but how do you navigate? We're not even talking about navigation, but I know it's hard to not think about filters or navigation, but some of these things, some pieces of information may actually be filters, but you will decide what they will be, right? We're not even deciding yet. But we need to know what will be some of the information. Think of information needs, but we were trying to think about what would be the hierarchy for some of those information pieces that we have. So we're still thinking about more information. So what would be, price was there, I put prices, but obviously I only had 30 cards. But if you were to do a full design, you would probably have 100 cards, right? But think of right now we're focusing on pieces of information that I would probably want to see as a traveler, but there's obviously a lot more, right? This was not a complete list of all the cards. There is a lot of information missing. But it was just, I wanted to give you a sense of how we would go about thinking about grouping and hierarchy of information. But we were going to do full as we continue to progress through the session as well. It will make sense as we evolve. But you did very well. I'm pretty happy with the final outcome of this board and how we've moved from cards to create a sense of hierarchy. And we already know that we would probably have a site that would probably be using breadth, but then we're just guessing. We're just assuming that all the word cards would end up on navigation. But we don't know yet. We haven't committed. But at least we would know that if we were to build a site architecture for this vacation sections, it would probably have these elements, right? And then there's probably going to be more too. It's 3:27, and I'm sorry I'm over time. Would you like me to go over the lab for this week, or would you like me to do a little video and I post the video with more insights, or you want to do it now? Are you okay? But it will be recorded, and regardless, if you have to leave now, you can go. It will be recorded. So if you have to leave, you can leave, and you can listen to the recording. But let's go then to the lab. The lab is a lot easier. The lab is easier than what we just did. So be reassured. You don't have to build anything. You don't have to rebuild anything with the lab. So we've done the most difficult part. Okay. So with the lab, what you need to do is I give you a site. It's called comfort.to. Don't go to the site yet. Okay. It's an online grocery store site. So it's a grocery store site. And on the left, where I have the Toronto Online Grocery Delivery Costco. So you can do, the lab can be done in teams. You can do the lab in teams, or you can do individual. So if you choose to do in teams, there's a part one has to be done. You have to do part one by yourself, and part two by yourself. And then the rest you can do as a team. But I need to see your part one, and I want to see your part two individually for each individual on your team. And you can work on the same team as 5112, or you can do this lab individually. It's really up to you. And if you do team, I just need a submission, but I need to see everybody's part one and everybody's part two. So I give you a site. It's called Toronto Online. It's called comfort.to, but don't go to it because you're going to need to do part one and part one before you visit the site. But it's an online grocery store. And then you'll say it says Toronto Online Grocery Delivery from Costco, free delivery. Okay. And then you're going to do part one, part two, and part three. So don't go to the site yet, but it's a grocery. First, I want you to do the exercise individually. And if you do your team, then you're going to have to say, Ashley, part one for our team, Ashley has done. This is Ashley, part one. This is Shabam, part two. This is Michael, part three, and then etc. And then you'll be able to discuss your finding. But for part one, before you visit the site, what you have to think about, what do you know about them? Maybe you know nothing. But by reading the little ads or the little Toronto Online Grocery Delivery with Costco, maybe you get a better sense of what do you think. You're going to be guessing, right? So I want you to guess. And really what you see on the left-hand side, like where it says Toronto Online Grocery Store, is what you would see on a Google search results. And maybe you said grocery delivery, Costco grocery delivery, or online grocery, Costco grocery, and then this search result came out. So I kind of want to put you in the real context somehow that you would see this ad on Google, and from seeing the ad, do you see enough to even be compelled to wanting to click on it, right? So tell me what you think you know about them. And then the second thing is list 2 or 3 items you expect to find on a site. So I say on each site, but there was a time where I had multiple sites, okay? So let me just update this at this point. On site. So I want you to take a guess of what are you expecting? Okay, so I've updated, it's updated. So let me just go back to it. So what do you know about them? Maybe you know nothing. And then what do you think, based on what I told you, or based on the ad, the advertising, what do you think you're going to find when you go to this site? So I want to see if you're actually going to find what you were thinking you would find. That's more of setting the expectation, like you would do on Google. everybody on the team or individual has to do this. Then you do part 2. Then I want you to click on the site. Then I want you to look at the main landing page for 5 seconds, or you can explore the site if you want, then close the site. So for 5 seconds, then I want you to make note of the top 3 things that you notice within the 5 seconds of your first visit. Then I want you to explain in 1 sentence what you think the site is all about. Okay, so far so good. Then you go to part 3, and then now I want you to explore the site further, and then you can do this in a team. You can do individually, you can do in a team. Part 3 too is up to you, or you do individually and you come back as a team as well. Okay, I want you to identify 3 business main goals or priorities. So I want you to guess what you think some of the main business goals would be, or priorities. Then I want you to identify 3 main user goals. So why do you think people will come to this site? Then I want you to list the main categories that you find, level 1, level 2, or level 3. Okay, and I will answer your question, Jillian, after. Okay, so what do you think the business goals are? What do you think why user would come to this site? And then I want you to look at the categories. So I want you to think of what is level 0, what is level 1, and maybe what is level 2, 3. And if there's a level 4 somewhere, you can list them too. I want you to go to FAQ. Go to FAQ when you go to the site because you get to discover things, right? So just take a guess of what you think level 1 and 2 and 3 would be, like on the site, based on what you've seen and what you've learned from level 1 and 2 and 3. Then I want you're obviously going to see categories, right? You're going to see categories. They made choices of categories. They made choices of labels. Think of labels, category section on their site. Then I want you to try to map each category to a business and a user goals. So you're not building, you're not designing, you're actually just trying to re-engineer. You want to look back and say, okay, so I think they're trying to sell grocery, and then they have a category called grocery, buy groceries, and then that category is level 1, and that category is aligned with the business goal and aligned with the user goal. Okay, so that is what number 4 is. So I want you to, for each category, to say, this is supporting user goal X, this is supporting business goal X. Then I want you to, number 5, is the site using a flat or a breadth? Is it breadth or is it depth? And then I want you to justify. Why do you think it's breadth or why do you think it's depth? Which we talked about tonight. And then I said, try to think about products. Are they using depth or breadth when it comes to their range of products that they have on their site? Think of Rogers. Rogers is doing depth, right? Because they're hiding a lot of their product categories. Air Canada it looks like they're doing breadth, but they're really doing depth when it comes to products. And again, there's no wrong or right answer. I just want you to think, take a guess, and then tell me why you think it's actually breadth or depth. Then make note of, if you see that they're using a metaphor, on this side they're using a metaphor, then tell me what you think the metaphor might be, if there is one. And then make note of any problems that you're finding with the categories. So I don't want you to do a full heuristic evaluation. That's not the goal. This is a lab, okay? But I'm trying to tie back again, business user goals, and now the categories, and then how are the categories supporting the business goal, supporting the user goal, and then challenge yourself with these. Is it depth? Is it breadth? And any problems or any challenges that you may actually find that as you're doing these, you're trying to answer the questions as you go through the lab, but don't give me a full heuristic evaluation. And that's the lab. So I don't want you to spend like 10 hours on this, okay? Again, needs to be fun and really just focus on what I'm asking, and don't give me a full review, heuristic evaluation review. Gauge the amount of time that you will spend. And I don't remember what the percentage, if there's a percentage. Do we have points for this lab? We have 1 point for this lab. So I just wanted to give you a chance to connect with some of the things that we've talked about tonight and see how you can apply them. That's really the goal. Are there any questions about the lab? It's a fun exercise. And you will see there's a bit of a disappointment when you go to the site. There's a bit of disconnect between when you read the ad and when you go to the site. There's a bit of confusions from a brand too. So anything that you notice, then you just list. But don't spend 30 hours. Like, gauge how much time you will spend. I will say limit yourself to 2 hours. Number 1 and 2 can easily be done, right? And number 3, like, um, you will have to spend more time on the assignment than the lab. The lab is just to give you an opportunity to practice and put a different critique to based on now that you've learned more about categories and levels. That's the goal. So yes, Michael, I want you guys to have fun in this little lab, and then it's due for midnight Monday, and then I will give feedback. I will give generic feedback, and I will give specific feedback where I want to align. But really, there's no right or wrong answer in this at all. In this, so it's really I just want to see how you've integrated